there's two starters there. They replaced one. Thought it was bad. Now I went through and checked the other one, the new one they put in, because it wasn't working any better than the old one. And well, this kind of goes back to the old ways of doing things. Sometimes, let me get my light on, you have to check the wiring, because on some of these trucks, I got both wires, as you can see, tore out. They get pretty stiff over time. But you have to do an ohms and resistance check on them. As you can see, I clean the ends up on them. Same with this one here, clean the ends up right there. See if you can see it. I cleaned those ends up because they were pretty corroded. Now what I'm also going to do is clean the bell housing right there. See if you guys can see that. And we'll get that cleaned up. I cleaned those ends up right there, as you can see. Clean those ends up. And now I'm going to not just run a test on the starter to ensure it's actually working good. I'm going to, and I also clean the battery ends up too. So let me get my light off so I'm not blinding you guys. So now after all this is said and done, I'm going to remotely hook the starter up on the ground to their cables and see what it does under a draw to see if it's engaging and working correctly. And I need to clean that bell housing area up. But once I get it remotely connected here, now I've already tested the starter, bench tested it off the service truck, and it kicks over just fine. But I'm gonna go ahead and hook their leads up real quick, test to make sure that they don't have an issue, because I've had in the past that a wire works good. You got good ohms on it. It tests out, there's no resistance, but you move the wire and flex it a little bit, because over time they get corrosion inside of them, and they create a hot spot in there, and it'll pull out a lot of juice, a ton of juice when you're going to crank over, and it'll put so I wouldn't say a draw, but it'll put a damper on the voltage flowing through it. It'll slow it down, and you just won't get as many amps as you need to operate these items. Well, I remotely tested the starter. The starter is good. The leads there, you can kind of see them. They're quite a bit stiff, but they are still conducting good energy. I did clean them up, so that might have been my case there, as it just wasn't getting good enough connection. Also, let me turn my lights on so you can see those little connections there, the little green ones. Those were in between. And I think what was going on was there was some glue down inside there, and I don't think they were getting good connection, good contact, because I just tested the starter remotely underneath here with the wires they have, and it turns over quite nicely. Over time they corrode, they get crap on them. It just doesn't work out the best. So what I'm going to do right now is clean this section up right here, because I'm kind of a pet peeve on making sure everything's clean before you go back together. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I got to clean that up right there, get that cleaned up, got my leads cleaned up, get everything marked where it needs to go. Then we can go ahead and install that back in there, which there's one bolt that I'm going to fight for about 25 minutes. Once that's back up in there, then we can check to see if the truck turns over. Well, when you buy the parts, this was my bad. When I had the starter out, I should have checked it in realization to the old starter that they replaced, but I didn't, and I'm still here because I decided to pull it back out and do one and check that I should have checked while I was on the ground, and I didn't. And it does happen. You can't take your parts people, your parts professionals seriously, because they're just looking at a set of numbers. Things get mispackaged. Look at that starter. See how the teeth are? Look at that starter. See how the teeth are. So the teeth are smaller on this starter compared to this starter. Cleaned all the connection ends, thinking that was the case. Did all that. Now I'm gonna drive the old starter back in because I floor tested it and it came out to be fine. So throw that back in and then see what I got. Oh, and by the way, since they pulled it out, I can't find where any of the nuts are or any of the stuff that goes to it, so just makes it a little more funner. Yeah. Well, I got it running so I could originally come out and check. I almost forgot. When your blow-by does that, it is not a good thing. Oh goodness, oh goodness, goodness. Well, it's up and running. Motor they put in, bad. Everything else, copacetic. It's a running truck again. So, well, hopefully they can get it to the shop. Let's see if we can get something fixed today. Since the last couple days have been just... Well, on the truck here, they had the fuel leak. We had a fuel divider right down here, and this is an older truck, and this is something we used to have to do back when, but there's a little square O-ring on here, and over time they get tightened up here and there, and hot and cold flexing. There's a moving component in here, and this thing will start to warp. It was never perfect from factory. It will start to warp. The O-ring is almost obsolete to get, so to get it, you have to buy the whole unit, which ain't a bad thing, except for it is Saturday, and this guy wants to be able to run tomorrow, if not Monday morning, and we're not going to be able to put one of those in beforehand, especially on fact it's an ordered item. We're going to have to specially order it. So back when I used to have to do road calls on these trucks all the time for this similar issue, usually it's on the other side, it's on the vacuum side, so it causes the truck to stall. This one's on the return side, so it's not such a big deal. You take it with a good trusty straight good file, and you file this down nice and smooth. Then once you get it all filed down nice and smooth, you have your outline. From that outline you make a gasket, and then you gasket it down, and it will never leak again, and it will work forever. But you gotta first take the warp out of it, and once you take the warp out of it, it's good to go. I don't know if you guys can see that very well, but that right there is nice and clean now, and ready to be assembled. I got the O-ring and the flapper on the other side of the truck, so we're going to go ahead and assemble that, put it back together, then test it for leaks. Part is right there. Well, this is John, and I hope you enjoyed the video. And on some of the little issues with the video, I don't know if you guys can see it much with that truck there. Previously, beforehand, the air intake before the turbo, you guys probably saw in a previous video I changed the turbo out on it. There was a break in the bottom of the turbo, and there was dust getting in through the turbo, and they've dusted the motor. That's why it has such heavy excessive blow-by. and they've had the problems with the truck that they've had. Now, thanks for watching. I appreciate my subscribers, and if you guys want to see something more of something, more of me doing something, just kind of leave it in the comments. I go through and read the comments occasionally, and I can kind of, you know, set my filming into more of this aspect. Now, it probably won't be a whole lot of that. I do majority just mechanical work, so mechanical work is normally what I'm doing all the time, so that's what I'm filming. But if you guys want to see more and more into it, or do you want me to slow the video down and get more in depth into what's actually being done with these vehicles, leave it in the comment, because I kind of skim over certain things, because to me, I do it all the time, so I don't know what the entertainment value is on it, or what, you know, to me it's just a day-to-day type work. I don't know if you're actually enjoying it or not. So just leave it in the comments, and like I said, thank you for watching, and please subscribe.